The red wall is done. Good evening, I hope everyone's well today. Thank you for watching, it is appreciated. The red wall is over, the red wall is done. That is clear. What I want to get into today is the Gorton and Denton by-election, which is coming up at the end of February. Many of you will know that Matt Goodwin has been selected as the Reform UK candidate, and is clearly the strongest candidate that's going to be fielded. The working class people in the United Kingdom have turned away from Labour. If you look at statistics like this, Labour is now the party of the metropolitan elite, the London loony liberals, and the Reform Party is now the party of the working class. This has been done because Labour have abandoned their base. Many people, myself included, were told when we were young, you've got to vote Labour because you don't want the Tories in. So it wasn't about voting Labour as a principle, it was simply to block the other party. I stopped listening to that drivel 20 years ago. I've not voted for a Labour politician since before 2009, when Gordon Brown called a regular woman on the street a racist on a hot mic for questioning immigration. Nothing has changed. The campaign material that Reform UK are running on is strong, and the campaign material that Labour is running on is really weak. Now, there's a video that Labour put out today, and I want to play this video, and we will actually dissect it a little bit. So that's what we're going to get into now.
With some Labour activists to get our campaign really off the ground. And what we're saying to people here in Gorton and Denton and across the constituency is that you need to vote Labour, not just to get a Labour MP, but to keep Reform out. It's only Labour or Reform here. The Greens don't have any presence on the ground, they don't have any councillors, and if you take a risk voting Green, you're going to let Reform in, and that's what happened in the Runcorn by-election. We lost that by 6 votes because people voted Green, and we let in that nasty poisonous politics of Reform, and we don't want.
So that's the actual thrust of their campaign. You don't want the nasty, divisive politics of Reform. I live in Runcorn and Halsby. Sarah Poachin is my MP. I got exactly what I voted for. I've got somebody who is visible, attentive, responsive, and actually in tune with their voters. My previous MP, this Labour held seat in Runcorn and Halsby for 50 years, was a backbencher that adhered to the party line, didn't step out of line, because if you step out of line with a legacy party, you lose the whip and you're deselected at the next election. She actually made a false claim and a lie, and that's what I want to get into first of all. This constituency that she's contesting at the moment, campaigning, they've not fielded a candidate yet, that is going to go to Reform. And we want to interrogate some of the figures here first of all. What she says in that video is actually factually inaccurate, and I want to get into that first of all. The first thing we need to do is we need to look at the Gorton and Denton result from 2024. The majority was 13,413. Andrew Gwynn won the seat. Now, Andrew Gwynn mirrors my MP Mike Amesbury because he's been deselected and he's been booted from the Labour Party. My MP, Mike Amesbury, was booted for assaulting a constituent. He was booted for dodgy WhatsApp messages wishing that the elderly would leave the mortar coil, to put it specifically. So now we get into my seat from last year. They specifically say, Lucy Powell specifically says in this video, that voting Green will let Reform in. That's not actually true. If you look at my seat from last year, or the year before, 2024, the Green vote was 2,715, a 6.4%, and a higher majority for Mike Amesbury and Labour than in the contesting seat coming up in February. And then if you look what happened last year, when Reform UK won the seat, they pipped it by 6 votes, that's true. The Green vote went down in absolute numbers. It went up by percentage point, but it went down in absolute figures. So she's actually resorting to lies and disinformation, which I'm calling out here. That's how desperate Labour are. Lest we forget, the only reason that Labour is running scared in this election is because they've already lost Runcorn. They could have put a stronger candidate in, but they rejected Andy Burnham outright. So Labour voters aren't going to turn out anyway, even if they were inclined to turn out before. Lest we forget the massive swing from working class people to Reform UK, because Labour have abandoned their base and have abandoned what they stand for. Now, as I previously stated, the strongest candidate in this race currently is Matt Goodwin. Let's see what he said recently on Question Time regarding immigration. We'll get to this one now.
Are basically lying to you when it comes to illegal
What was the
immigration.
lie?
And
What was the
I'm going
lie?
to tell you. First of all, let's just get some facts on the table. Okay, let's get some facts on the table. More people have arrived in this country on small boats than the Labour Party have removed. And most of the people they've removed went voluntarily. Okay, that's a fact. What Labour are doing is they are approving the vast majority of claims for asylum from people who arrived here often illegally, and then they're telling you they're moving people out of the country, but actually...
That's completely true. Most of the people that are getting booted out of the country when Labour is saying they're deporting people are people that have overstayed visas, study visas, work visas, and they're being paid to leave. And not only that, there's no incentive for them not to just come back and rinse and repeat and keep on getting paid every 3 months and getting more money to leave, more money to leave, more money to leave. The asylum seekers that are coming in on the small boats, yes, overall they are a small proportion of overall migration. However, the way through, because there's no way to verify their identity and there's no way to prove that they're not asylum seekers. So rather than try to find that information out, the people in the call centres and officers that are approving the asylum claims, they're actually incentivised to wave them through. And this is why people are at risk in the country. So Matt is completely correct here.
They're not. And Fiona made a critical point. If you've been here for 5 years, you get indefinite leave to remain, which means basically you get access to NHS, student loans, benefits, you can bring relatives in, and you're here forever. Now,
Do you think we should have grant asylum?
I think the system should be overhauled and drastically reduced. The criteria for approving asylum claims is way, way, way too loose. So it needs to be reviewed, if not abolished completely.
Answer the question I was asked. The Centre for Policy Studies this week estimated that you, taxpayers, are going to have to pay £234 billion over the next few decades because of that indefinite leave to remain, because nobody's controlling the borders. Now, we're not controlling the borders. Why? Well, Labour got rid of the only deterrent we had. It was too soon to know whether it was working or not. They then decriminalised illegal migration. They removed AIDS checks on people coming into the country. They didn't reduce any welfare for people coming in to Britain. And then on top of all of that, we now have numbers up 15% on a year ago. They're going to keep coming because we have no deterrent. All we have are incentives for people to come in. The only way you fix this crisis, leave the ECHR, keep British people safe, reform the Human Rights Act, also need to do that, and have an active deterrent.
Matt's completely correct on all of this. Now, is he perfect? No. He's the best candidate standing. You need to vote Matt Goodwin, in my view. If you want somebody responsive and attentive to the needs of people locally, that would be my advice. So what do you think? Do you think that Reform UK have got it in the bag? According to the polling, by the way, and bookmakers, they do think Reform have it in the bag. Probably because of the removal of Andy Burnham, that's pipped it, but I thought it would have gone to Reform anyway. Lest we forget that Labour tried to block a national grooming gang inquiry, and Lucy Powell, dog whistle Lucy Powell, didn't want it either. What's going on with that, by the way? That's not been mentioned for months now. Everyone's distracted. What is going on with that? Do you think Reform have got this in the bag? Comment below and let me know. Do you think the Red Wall is dead? Comment and let me know. It's not coming back in my view. They've lost it completely. When they say divisive Labour and when they say you're racist, what they're saying is we don't like your opinions. We don't like that you think that British-born people should get benefits if needed, not foreign nationals. They think that it's perfectly acceptable that migrants get 50k a year. That's how much it is to keep them in the country. And they don't care about the collateral damage. They really do not care about the collateral damage. Like that care worker or the asylum hotel worker that was taken from us by a asylum seeker, and the asylum seeker was given a sentence today. These are the people that would have normally voted Labour. These are the people that have been forsaken by the Labour Party for a generation. And these are the people that need to vote reform, in my view, and will be voting reform. Now, if you like this video, as I say, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff. I'll see you in the next one. Have a good day.